Welcome to Off Record On Point, and this time it's a special episode with just me, Julia Linehan. I'm the founder of The Digital Voice, and I'm normally joined by Kasey Long, but this session is actually just me because it is a topic very, very close to my heart. It's all about sobriety, sober curious, mindful drinking, all of those aspects. And as a non-drinker of nearly 4 years, and as the co-founder of Spill, which is Sober Party Industry Lads and Ladies, this topic is close to my heart. And we thought we'd do a one-off session as we're about to start the awards and events season. Silly season is upon us, and we want to really put a call out to the industry that when it comes to events, when it comes to awards, please be mindful that there are many people, increasing numbers of people, that don't choose to drink in moderation, are dipping their toe in sobriety, and are looking to have alternative alcohol-free options. It's all about inclusion. It's all about choice. And that's something that we very much recommend the industry take seriously. From my perspective as co-founder of Spill is there to provide a community, a WhatsApp community that exists really to support those that are mindful drinkers, sober curious, or non-drinkers. And I'm proud that it's a growing community. In fact, there seems to be huge momentum both in the UK and globally for there to be less emphasis on alcohol. And I, for one, applaud that. So in today's session, we have the pleasure of interviewing Mitch Cobb, who's the founder of Libra, which is a non-alcoholic beer based over in Canada. So I'm delighted to welcome Mitch and put the world to rights and find out what he's doing, what his beer's all about, and how you can make a choice to be a mindful drinker.
First off, thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited to be here and talk about all things sober, curious, and mindful drinking.
This is a topic close to my heart. I'm coming up to 4 years as a non-drinker. I'm a big advocate of sobriety, sober curious, mindful drinking, all of those. And I'm also proud. Weirdly, I never had drunk an alcoholic beer until I decided to stop drinking 4 years ago, and now I'm all over the non-alcoholic beers. So to have you here with me talking about how you launched a non-alcoholic beer, I'm fascinated. So welcome, and let's start first. Tell me all about your journey to launching Libra.
You know, my journey really started in 2015 when I opened up Upstreet Craft Brewing, which is a craft brewery here on Prince Edward Island in Canada. And, you know, after being in the craft beer business for a couple of years, it just always seemed like there was an opportunity to have a beer. Everyone who wanted to meet with me wanted to meet over beer, or, you know, we were having beers after work, or, you know, a lot of the events that we were going to were craft beer related. So there was always this drinking element to it. And, you know, after a couple of years of being in the beer business, it was really starting to take a toll on my health. You know, I had gained a bunch of weight. I just wasn't feeling as physically and mentally fit as I used to. And so, you know, I decided that I really wanted to reduce my alcohol consumption. You know, and so it was sort of spurred from that, you know, because I still wanted to go out. I still wanted to have dinner with my friends. I still wanted to do all of the things that, you know, I used to do. I just didn't want to have the alcohol. And it felt at first really sort of isolating to not be a part of that social experience, or to go out, you know, and drink a water or a pop. And so my business partner and I started talking about what it would take to make a non-alcoholic craft beer. And so, you know, we started doing research and development in 2018, trying different batches, trying different methods. And we launched our first product, the Libra Pale Ale, in October of 2020.
I think, do you know what? I always use the expression, Mitch, change the ingredient, not the habit. And one of the things that I learned straight off is that I love having a non-alcoholic wine, non-alcoholic beer, or at exactly the same times that I would have had a glass of wine. You know, and those, you don't change the habit, you just change that
Yeah.
ingredient. And actually, I mean, I'm a big ambassador of the fact that all the things you think alcohol gives you, it actually does the opposite. So if you think I'm going to have it for social anxiety, well, lo and behold, alcohol gives you social anxiety. If you think you're going to do it
Hmm.
for if you're having a bad day, having a good day, it actually does the opposite, because it's both a stimulant and a depressant. It just takes a bit of time to adjust to it. But non-alcoholic beers and non-alcoholic, any of the non-alcoholic, as I call them, adult drinks, I think what they've done is allow. I want to feel like an adult when I'm out. I do not, like you said, a pop or a glass of water. I don't want to stand there in a bar with a glass of pop or glass of water. So I'm so
Yeah.
grateful that people like you are are creating these exceptional tasting drinks. Now, I wanted to ask you, Mitch. The UK leads the way in drinking culture. I'm not proud of it, but it is a fact. Canada, is it the same? Is drinking culture, it's very much embedded in business socializing, and how much are you having an impact on that?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Drinking culture is completely ingrained in Canadian business culture, and particularly, I'm from the east coast of Canada, and it's particularly ingrained here, and we see it everywhere. And it's like you said, you when you're having a good day, you want to celebrate with a drink. When you're having a bad day, you want to have a drink. When you're going out to a networking event, you want to have a drink. Or, when you're having a meeting, there just always seems to be an opportunity um, for alcohol. And really, it's sort of been ingrained in our culture that we celebrate with alcohol, which is really interesting when you start to think about it, that like this is something that's so ingrained in our culture that we can't even really imagine some of these celebrations or events without it.
But I think again, that's because if you having an adult drink, if I stand there with a bottle of, I call it fake beer, but it's not, it's the AF beer. I feel part of it. It doesn't bother me if I've got a bottle of non-alcoholic beer. I feel just the same. But if I am standing, what annoys me here when I go to big events here in the UK and big awards dues, and I'll say, and all the drinks, by the way, as much champagne as I could get down my neck, free, as much wine. But I say, have you got any non-alcoholic beers or non-alcoholic? No, you can have an orange juice or a diet coke or Coke. And I say, well, firstly, I'm not 12, and secondly, if you're wanting the sober and sober curious to not stand out, you shouldn't be giving them a glass of orange juice. I mean, there's nothing more stand out as having that glass of orange juice. It's not inclusive. It's really making people feel uncomfortable. Whereas a bottle of beer, it's just a bottle of beer. No one notices. No one
Yeah,
even questions. Just 'cause it just doesn't have alcohol in. So simple.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that was really what drove us to start Libra. We wanted to make, first off, we wanted to make a really great tasting non-alcoholic craft beer, but then we also wanted to put a brand around it that, people would feel really proud of, to take into a party or to take to an event, and want to share it with all of their friends and talk about it, because there's this such the stigma around people who don't drink. And, like you said,
Yeah.
you go in and you get a glass of soda water and you drop a lemon in it and try and pretend that it's vodka soda. Or, you take your non-alcoholic beer and you hide in the corner and you pour it in a glass so that people think you're drinking a regular beer. And for us, we wanted people to be proud to go out and be choosing not to drink, and not feel that stigma and really be part of that social experience, and want to share it. And, we've really seen that in the last couple of years since we launched, that there's been a real shift in people's perceptions of not drinking, because it takes a lot of courage to go out, and I don't know, it was a friend of mine who said, like it's really badass to go out and to be choosing not to drink, going out and drinking
100%.
is the easy thing to do.
I call myself a sober lush, and I love that because I'm still the same. I would say I'm slightly less annoying. I'm as loud, but just not quite so loud. I'm curious. You talked about you talked about Libra, and you talked about creating
Hmm.
your own brand. Tell us about. I'm really curious about the taste. I love the fact that it's a craft ale, and the first one was a pale ale. Have you got distinctive taste, and what's your brand? What did you and your business partner? What did you envisage?
Yeah, and so when we launched it, we really didn't want to just have a non-alcoholic beer as part of our alcohol lineup, so to speak.
Mm.
We really wanted
Like an
to
add-on.
innovate. Yeah, no, we really wanted to have an entire line of non-alcoholic beers that had a range of styles and flavors so that, people could really experiment and try different things and get excited about, new products that are coming out. So, we launched with our pale ale, and then probably 5 or 6 months later, we came out with an IPA, which is, a pretty typical hoppy beer. Then we did a Pilsner, which is a great, light, easy drinking beer. Then we came out with a stout, which just in time for winter. And then we did a cherry sour. So, we're really trying to push the envelope and continue to innovate in the space. And, really, they taste just like regular beers do. They don't, there's subtle differences in terms of having the body because the alcohol really does add an element of flavor to a regular beer, but they're pretty close and people love them.
I know, especially when I drink stout ones. I'm a stout or pilsner, not so much a pale ale or IPA. But I always find I have to double check sometimes when I'm drinking like a stout that I double check going, has this really got no alcohol in? Because it tastes fantastic. I mean, they do. You're lucky in this space because the wines. I've got there's a couple of really incredible wine and champagne companies that are just knocking it out of the park, but they are few and far between. But with beers, it really tastes so similar. And I think one of the things that we really wanted to focus this on, and the why we wanted you on this, Mitch, was dry January is such a big thing. So many people do it for their wellness, etc. And I think it's saying, actually, why not carry it on? What's stopping you? And I think sobriety and wellness do go hand in hand. You do feel better in so many ways. How do you think it goes hand in hand? And I suppose how, you said about it being, it is really a lifestyle. It can be something you just bed in and that you just build into your life.
Uh, like you said, they absolutely go hand in hand. And, I'm not by any stretch of the imagination an expert or a health expert, but, from my own personal journey, when I decided to reduce my alcohol consumption, which then led me to stopping drinking altogether for a couple of years because I just felt so great when I did stop. It impacted my sleep. I was sleeping better. I started tracking my sleep with an Oura ring. My heart rate became better. My heart rate variability became better. My stress levels came down. I was more clear. I had more motivation. I started losing a ton of weight without even trying. It impacts every facet of your life, and especially your mental health, which was the biggest, thing for me was just having so much more clarity. And I never considered myself, a problem drinker, but, like I said, I was just always having a beer when I was out or at an event or doing things like that, and it does start to wear on you over time. Your motivation decreases. Yeah.
100%. Mine was really the fact that I always say you're given an allowance of hangovers in your life, right? You get a certain amount. I'd reached my limit. I'd actually used up them all, and I just had no more left in. And I think
Yeah.
I hit my mid 40s, and started hurting. And when I run my own company, and obviously there's no one else to lean on. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to hide. And the difference in my energy levels. And it's no surprise that the digital voice is tripled, if not quadrupled, in every aspect since I decided to never have a glass of wine ever again. And it wasn't necessarily, people say, oh, will you be a problem drinker? I was like, no, just a standard media land drinker. It's part of the culture. And one of the things I'd love you to let us know, and let our audience know is, what do you think are the practical steps of how to normalize socializing without alcohol? What would you recommend as those steps?
I think the first thing that, people need to sort of come to terms with, I guess, is that, and it's interesting because there's been such a shift in the last couple of years where, even 2 years ago when we were starting Libra, there felt like there was a hard line in the sand, and either you drank or you didn't, and if you didn't drink, it was because you had health issues or you were pregnant or you had issues with alcohol, or you drank, and that shift has really changed over the last couple of years to be a conversation around moderation, you know? So you can choose to go out for a night and not drink, or you can choose to do dry January, or you can choose not to drink during the week, or you can choose to go out and have a beer and then have a couple of non-alcoholic beers. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And I think if you can get over that hurdle, then you can start seeing all of the different occasions where, I mean, we talked about it earlier, and I love that, like change the ingredient, not the habit. Because you can start to look at all of these, I don't know, opportunities where you would have the option to drink and ask yourself, like, do I really want the alcohol, or do I just want to be part of the social experience or the social ritual that goes with the alcohol? And then all of a sudden, there's all of these occasions where alcohol doesn't really seem as necessary as it did, and so I think, understanding that and really getting comfortable with that idea is a really good first step. And then, I think there's so many great products out there, that can help you, that can, non-alcoholic beverages, be it wine, spirits, or non-alcoholic beer, that allow you to be part of that experience and part of that ritual without having the alcohol, and I think it's almost like, once you kind of start experimenting with that and you reap the kind of health and wellness benefits that come with not drinking or not having a hangover, it's kind of addictive in itself,
Oh, I'm addicted to feeling good, and it's I love the challenge, and I love the fact that I was a really good drinker, I would always say, and I kind of did it to, if you're gonna do something, you go all out, and I kind of just really loved it, but I now really love being a non-drinker. I'm as proud. I kind of throw myself all in, and but I've done the both, so I can absolutely categorically hand on heart say every single aspect of my life is better without alcohol. And
Yeah.
it's not just, as you said, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Personally, I'm just that kind of person, but I think it's showing that there is a different way. And it is things like, for example, when you drink, often you don't even, you're chatting to somebody, you don't, after a certain point and a certain amount of alcohol, you stop being able to either A, listen properly, respond properly, remember properly, and all of those things. Your judgment starts being impaired. And there's a tipping point. And as you said, having one alcoholic beer and two non, or having one non, having every other, do it as part of your evening. And I think that's one of the biggest steps I can suggest, that there is that tipping point. Nothing, what is it? Nothing good happens after the bottom of the first bottle of wine. I don't know what it is, but there's a point. I've got a question for you, Mitch. In the
Yeah.
UK, alcohol-free is becoming it's really building momentum. Lucky
Hmm.
Saints are launching their own pub. We've got Club Soda have their own pop-up bar. There's a lot of dry bars opening. What's your plans for the UK market? When can we expect to see more of Libra over here?
Oh, geez, that is a great question. Right now, there's nothing on the radar to move to the UK, but the UK is definitely a place that we're looking at because it's definitely feels to be leading the way, in the non-alcoholic movement. So you'll hopefully see us there in the next couple years.
Perfect. Wonderful. It's been a pleasure to meet you, Mitch. Thank you so much. And really, really best of luck. And I look forward to certainly sampling Libra.
It's been great chatting with you too, Julia. Take care.
And I think I'm going to finish this session with my three, I suppose, takeaways and top tips. And we talked about it during the session, but I really want to hammer home that message. Change the ingredient, not the habit. There are 750 different types of alcohol-free drinks out there. So much choice. And try it because you'll be impressed when you do. Just give it a go. See how you feel. The proof is always in the pudding of just how effective not drinking can be on your lifestyle. And that's really also my third one. This is not drinking, choosing to not drink as much, choosing to be a mindful drinker or a non drinker is a lifestyle change. It's a well being change. And I think takes that away in the same way you might make other changes in your life that's good for your health and your wealth. have a look first at the not drinking option, because I promise you it will have a significant and very powerful impact on your life. I'm Julia Linehan, and you've been listening to Off Record on Point. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Off Record on Point, the digital voice podcast unzipped. I'm Julia Linehan.
And I'm Kasey Long. Enjoy the conversation? Reach out and let us know by rating and reviewing on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to follow to never miss an episode.
You can stay connected with us at thedigitalvoice.co.uk and across all social platforms. Just look out for The Digital Voice.
Join us again next time for another undercover industry deep dive. All off record, all on point.